One of the measures proposed by the federal government to strengthen Canada's bail system and promote public safety is to impose reverse onus bail conditions for those charged with violent weapons offenses. This means that the accused person would have to prove to the court that their detention is not justified, rather than the Crown having to prove that their release is not appropriate. The reverse onus would apply to a range of offenses involving firearms, knives, bear spray and other weapons, as well as to repeat offenders of intimate partner violence. The government argues that this change would address the challenges posed by serious violent offending with weapons and protect the safety of victims and communities. However, some critics may raise concerns about the impact of this change on the presumption of innocence, the charter rights of the accused, and the potential for over-incarceration and discrimination against marginalized groups. Manitoba's Justice Minister Kelvin Goertzen says the bill does not go far enough and calls for more radical bail reform. Manitoba's Justice Minister Kelvin Goertzen is not satisfied with the federal government's proposed bail reform legislation, which he says does not address the problem of repeat violent offenders who are released on bail and continue to harm innocent people. He wants the federal government to make more drastic changes to the bail system, such as expanding the reverse onus provision that would require some accused to prove why they should not be detained before trial. Goertzen says the current bill, introduced by Federal Justice Minister David Lametti, is too narrow and restrictive in its scope. It only applies the reverse onus condition to those who have been convicted of a violent offense in the last 5 years that carries a penalty of 10 years or more. Goertzen argues that this would exclude many dangerous individuals who have committed serious crimes but have not been convicted or sentenced yet. Goertzen also says the bill does not address the issue of youth crime, which he says is on the rise in Manitoba and requires a review of the Youth Criminal Justice Act. He says the federal government should look at ways to prevent young offenders from entering the criminal justice system in the first place, but also hold them accountable when they do commit violent acts. Goertzen's position is supported by other provincial justice ministers, such as Saskatchewan's Gordon Wyant, who also called for a meeting with their federal, provincial and territorial counterparts on bail reform. They are also backed by the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, which has been urging the federal government to renew and enhance its Guns and Gang Violence Action Fund that supports public safety initiatives across the country. Goertzen says he hopes the federal government will listen to their concerns and work with them to make meaningful reforms that will protect communities and support law enforcement. He says bail reform is a matter of urgency and cannot be delayed any further.